As a content creator in the movie space, there are no two finer words in the English dictionary than public domain. Copyright free. Just hearing it melts away the stress. Except that jerk who tried to claim clips from 1911's Dante's Inferno in my History of Horror video. I hope you studied that movie well, because it's a nice preview of where you're gonna end up. Hell. In the US, when you publish something, eventually the copyright expires. These days it happens 70 years post-mortem auctoris, after the author dies. For pre-1978 works, it depends on a few factors. It could happen earlier, but by 95 years after the work was published, it belongs to the public. In 2022, that meant Winnie the Pooh entered the public domain. Now, anyone could use that character in any way they wanted. Would this open the door for authors to tell fresh, heartwarming tales for a new generation? No, don't be ridiculous. You remember what public means, right? It means people. People are disgusting. No, with the copyright dead, they defiled its corpse with a new franchise, the Twisted Childhood universe, composed of horror movies based on characters freshly thrust into the public domain. So we got Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmares, Bambi the Reckoning, and more. Blood and Honey and the Twisted Childhood universe are probably the most infamous example, but that's just one studio. Others have gotten in on the trend, defiling the likes of Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Popeye. The craziest was probably Disney making their own horror movie based on Snow White. But tonight, we're facing a primal evil. Mickey Mouse was first introduced in the 1928 short film Steamboat Willie. New Year's Day, 2024, that version of the mouse entered the public cesspool. To be clear, it's only that specific short film whose copyright expired. So for example, you can't make a horror movie where Mickey Mouse looks like this, because that design came in later works. And you can't make it look too official, because Disney still owns the Mickey Mouse trademark. With all that out of the way, I think my lawyers have me cleared. I'm good? I'm good to go? Okay then, let's talk Screamboat. It starts tastefully enough with a quote. "All the adversity I've had in my life, all my troubles and obstacles have strengthened me. You may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you." Walt D. It's fun how they plucked out a quote showing more of Walt Disney's edge. I also find it funny how that frames what we're about to see as a lesson of some kind. Like, this movie's gonna kick your ass because you need some adversity in your life. You need a mutant mouse to come after you with a knife. The movie begins on the Staten Island ferry, specifically an old vessel named Mortimer, likely a reference to the legend that apparently Walt Disney wanted to name the mouse Mortimer before Mrs. Disney said it should be Mickey instead. This hull is from the 1920s, back when the ferry ran on steam. You know, back when the world was black and white and animated. In the lower decks, Neil recruits fellow maintenance worker Dominique's help in stealing an antique, his golden parachute. It looks like a builder's plate, a metal plate with the ship's name and other manufacturing information on it. According to him, the antique would be worth 50 grand, but in prying it off, they open a hatch. While steam clouds their vision, they hear it. Something small scurrying out of the hole. That little something grabs a wrench and smacks Dominique's face. Then it hides again in the steam. But the whistling says it's still there. So does its tapping foot once it steps out of the steam. It bites a chunk out of Neil's face. Dominique runs, slips on that chunk of face, and falls into the hatch below. There she finds scratches on the walls, evidence that something was here a long time and wanted out. She sees that something above her, the shape of it, a mouse. It's a fine start. A pretty typical cold open for a slasher, but I like that they keep the mouse mostly obscured for now. The Winnie the Pooh horror movies, which I watched for some reason, don't really attempt to capture the cartoon aesthetic at all. It's just people in human-sized costumes. But Screamboat commits to a rodent-sized villain, so I was definitely curious how they'd pull that off. And they retain the mystery even while the slaughter has officially commenced. After the cold open, we meet the real main character, Selena. She's running to the Staten Island ferry. What is she running from? A monster? A killer? No, a birthday party. She was serving them in the bar all night. Then they found out she was going back to Staten Island too, and they wanted to keep the party going. Thankfully, she bumps into a good Samaritan, Pete, like Pegleg Pete, a deckhand who offers to cover for her. He tells Cindy and the girls that Selena went to the upper decks while sending her to the lower level stern. The girls are all named and dressed to resemble Disney princesses. Rory is Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, Bella is Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Cindy is Cinderella, Ariana is Ariel from Little Mermaid, and Jazzy is Jasmine from Aladdin. Cindy, by the way, is played by Kaylee Hyman, who also played Brooke in Terrifier 2, and she's not the only one who crosses over. Art the Clown himself, David Howard Thornton, also appears. You'll never guess who he plays. Now, there's a dead zone where you can't get phone signal. He plays the mouse. The killer mouse. There's also connective tissue behind the scenes because Terrifier 2 and 3 share a producer with Screamboat, Michael Levy, who my buddy Tony from Hack the Movies actually interviewed. Check it out. As I was saying, there's a dead zone where you can't get phone signal partway through the ride. But don't worry, Pete assures the girls. There's free Wi-Fi.
Public Wi-Fi? Ew.
I'm gonna admit something. I went into this movie with a bit of an attitude. Remember how I mentioned I watched those Winnie the Pooh movies? One thing I didn't mention is that they're terrible. I know they have nothing to do with this movie, but they kinda soured my already non-existent enthusiasm for horror movie takes on public domain children's stories. But so far, I'm not hating this. I was expecting this cavalcade of obnoxious princesses to be annoying, because that's often a problem with obnoxious characters. They're meant to annoy other characters, but the filmmakers forget that also risks annoying the audience. But they strike a balance with this group, where they're just over the top enough without going too far. The humor is hit or miss for me. The public Wi-Fi thing is funny because it's such an absurd thing to be grossed out by, but I can almost imagine someone saying that. Then there are jokes that feel a little more forced.
I think I'm gonna be seasick.
Alright, well technically you're still on land, so...
It also feels surprisingly grounded, which sets up for a nice contrast to the killer cartoon mouse. Director Stephen Lamort talked behind the scenes about getting the environment right, and the space definitely feels real. Probably because it is real. For some reason, Pete Davidson and Colin Jost own a decommissioned Staten Island ferry. They bought it for $280,000, basically for the hell of it. So they had it sitting around and granted the producers permission to use it for the movie. Anyway, some bad news. All harbor traffic is suspended until the fog lifts. Not if the captain can help it.
No. Not tonight. This is my 5th night of mandatory overtime. I'm tired. I gotta take a shit. Nothing's coming out. I wanna go home.
Okay, fine. Technically, the delay goes into effect on the hour. If you get out now, you're cleared to depart.
This fucking guy.
And that's a cameo by Tyler Posey of Teen Wolf fame. And I'm kind of getting into it. I love the vibe. Between the actual ferry, the way it's shot, and all the tired passengers, I really feel like I'm on the Staten Island ferry at 4 a.m. I think I want to go home. It is a great setting for horror. The view of the city nearby almost makes it feel more isolating than if they were lost at sea or something, because you can see the safety of the city, but it's just out of reach.
Let's get this Jungle Cruise going!
Disney reference, Jungle Cruise Ride, and apparently a movie starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt. We meet Amber, the EMT. Disney reference, Princess Amber from Sophia the First. She's a character with a kind heart. We meet her taking care of Barry, the guy who sleeps on the ferry, giving him electrolytes, while she's watched by a little furry creature from under the bench. At the lower level stern, Selena and Pete get to talking. He notices her shoes, ones she designed herself, and the notebook in her hands full of more designs, her hopes and dreams. As for his dreams, he has no interest in being captain. Deckhand is where it's at. It's not much in terms of character development, but it's nice window dressing, and more than you expect to get. But it's generally surface level, like why doesn't he want to be captain? What sort of sketching does she like to do? Compared to something like Terrifier 2, where Sienna's passion for art, the hobby, not the clown, is really believable. You see examples of it. It makes her feel like a fully fleshed out person, and helps connect us with her. Meanwhile, a guy in a Statue of Liberty costume finds a quiet place to indulge in some nose candy when he hears someone whistling a public domain tune. Take me out to the ball game. He stands up and someone has moved his mask. And now it moves itself? No, someone is wearing it. A small mutant mouse. The mouse cuts his heel, turning the guy into a crawling mess on the ground, then picks up his prop torch and jams it into his skull. The effects aren't exactly convincing, but they are the fun sort of practical effects you can appreciate for their craftsmanship. And there's just an absurdity to this sort of violence contrasted against the fact that there's a puppet mouse running around, which typically you'd associate with a more childish movie, which is the sort of whole idea with these movies, but that often gets missed in the actual execution. But Screamboat leans into it, not just with the puppet, but other stylistic choices too. Like the score will sometimes employ the sort of joyous music you expect at the start of a Disney adventure. Elsewhere on the ferry, bad news for Selena. The women's restroom is out of order, so it's off to the men's room. The Staten Island ferry men's room. I emphasize that for no reason in particular. There she meets Amber, who returns Selena her sketchbook, something she apparently left behind. They have a sappy conversation, the kind that has no business in a men's room, about not giving up on your dreams. Don't move back to Minnesota, Selena. Stay in New York and fight. That's the only way to make it here. What a lovely city. The character work is all fine and serviceable. It's Screamboat, okay? Calm down. She tosses her sketchbook in the trash and doesn't notice the little mouse legs hanging off the toilet in the stall, or the dismembered leg that falls to the floor, and the sound of chewing. Now that is men's room stuff. Men eating mice, mice eating men, I don't know what I'm talking about. They definitely go for some of the easy jokes, like the occupied stall and all the noises of intestinal distress. The humor hits at like a 50% rate for me, which might explain the Rotten Tomatoes score, which last I checked was right down the middle. The ferry floats into the fog. Officer Pat notices a weird dancing figure in the dark. Cues some of that familiar whistling. Hammered to the foot, to the ankle, to the hand before he can reach his gun. Selena hears his screams and some public domain whistling, and finally she sees it. The little mutant mouse dipping Officer Pat into the dark waters below and shoving him into the propeller. The mouse looks up at Selena as she screams. He falls in love and shows off Pat's mangled remains. This is our introduction to Screamboat Willie in all his glory. The design is absurd, definitely more monstrous than cartoon. I appreciate that it isn't just a mask, but makeup that allows David Howard Thornton's performance to come through. He brings a similar vibe to this movie as he does Terrifier, the sadistic fun of a monster who'll maim, torture, and kill with a smile you believe in. He's really having a gas doing all this. The proportions of the character are often confusing. Like if you saw some clips out of context, you'd have no idea he was supposed to be mouse-sized. Because sometimes it's a puppet, then when you get close-ups where you can see his face, it just looks like a guy in a mouse costume running around, and it looks so absurd. Selena runs. She tells Pete, Amber, and a couple of other officers what she saw. Of course, no one believes her. Meanwhile, the captain notices a photo of an old captain from about 100 years ago. The photo is folded, covering something up. So weird how he'd never noticed that photo until now, right before the mouse puts a garrote around his throat and sprays the cabin with his blood, then stands on his body and saws with that garrote while whistling "Pop Goes the Weasel," until pop goes the captain's head off his body. Screamboat Willie dances on the captain's corpse and takes the wheel. Where is he taking them? We'll find out soon. This is where the movie essentially recreates the original cartoon of Mickey Mouse whistling and steering the ship. Wait a minute! So who's Steamboat Willie? Not him, that's Mickey Mouse. Some people will tell you Willie is the name of the boat, and if you're on Reddit, they'll say it with a really smug attitude. But that was not the case in the original short film. Calling the boat Willie is something that's been decided since then. In truth, the short's title was a play on Buster Keaton's film Steamboat Bill Jr., named after the song Steamboat Bill. Okay, so who is Willie? That's him right there. The mouse? Am I blowing your mind? Think of Mickey Mouse as an actor, and in this short, he's playing Steamboat Willie. Makes sense. Now, to capitalize on the fun of a killer Mickey Mouse, the more brutal you can make him, the more fun. And man, is he brutal. He's basically dancing on the guy while cutting his head off to the rhythm of his whistling. He'll stop and start again. Definite Art the Clown vibes. And even in its brutality, the movie never forgets that it's a cartoon. It even uses an iris out transition like the kind you'd see in an old cartoon. The gore is also so over the top and cartoonish, it doesn't look real, but it also doesn't look effortless. So it strikes the right balance to be violent without spoiling the fun. Soon, Officer Lieutenant Diaz and First Mate Tommy find the dead captain. Not only that, but comms are down, instruments are down, and they're lost in the fog. Then Pete joins them.
Holy shit!
Now look at Tommy. Look at him. He is the captain now, which makes Peter first mate, a job he doesn't want. That's a running theme. He doesn't want the responsibility. He just wants to coast through life, like a steamboat. Some of the humor definitely feels like there was an idea there that isn't quite fleshed out, like the beginnings of parody or satire that doesn't come together in a punchline. Like Tommy fights the police officer. This is my ship, my rules. It's parodying those tropes we've seen, like at a crime scene. The FBI shows up and there's that inevitable fight. This is my crime scene. No, now it's my crime scene. But the tropes are just kind of there and not twisted in any kind of funny way, similar to the Disney princesses. Their names and dress reference the princesses, but it's just a reference, and no further humor is extracted from them through parody or satire. They're just there until they're dead. While Tommy acquaints himself with the role of captain, he sends Pete and Officer Diaz to round up the passengers and send them to the lower level. Meanwhile, Willie spots Bella and Jazzy taking selfies and stabs a forklift through both their heads while they practice making these faces. That's when Amber arrives, sees their bodies, and sees the mouse, who does the classic shifty-eyed, "Oh crap, does she see me?" look. Then he runs. Amber gets back to Selena to share, "Yeah, I saw the monster too, I believe you now. They need to abandon ship or call for help." About that, Pete's got some bad news. They're kind of stuck out here. Just like the door is stuck, the one containing all the people they've just gathered in the lower level. Someone jammed the door. I'll give you one guess who it is. He's shaped like a mouse, except not really, more like a human-mouse hybrid. Or honestly, he looks like a guy in a mouse costume. People lose patience. Why aren't we there yet? Officer Diaz tries to use some discretion, but this guy isn't cool about it.
There's been an incident, all right?
The captain's dead!
About a little discretion, huh?
Dead men tell no tales.
Disney reference "Dead Men Tell No Tales" is a proverb dating back to the 16th century, and it's used in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. You hear a voice repeating the phrase in Dead Man's Cove, and of course they ended up using it as a title for one of the movies. Anyway, what are they gonna do? They're trapped on the Staten Island ferry with a killer. How are we gonna get out of here?
With our big fucking balls. That's how. Some asshole is trying to hijack our ferry, kill our captain.
He gives a roaring speech. This is New Yorker on bridge, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us moment from Spider-Man. And just like in Spider-Man, the speech ends with the guy's throat impaled by the broken end of a broomstick. I think I'm remembering that movie right. And then Green Goblin starts doing a vaudeville-style tap dance. To be fair, that does actually sound like something Sam Raimi would do. Remember when he used to be fun? Actually, I am intrigued by that new movie he's making, Send Help. Then, two of my favorite people show up in cameos. Brian Quinn, who you might associate with Staten Island thanks to Impractical Jokers, or you're a real fan like me and first knew him from the podcast Tell 'Em Steve Dave, and comedian Joe DeRosa, Brian's friend, who I first came to know as the vet in Better Call Saul. My favorite podcast meets my favorite show, meets my favorite movie, Screamboat. Let's not get crazy.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Or am I just fucking high?
It is a small world after all.
Disney reference, and that one felt a little shoehorned in, to be honest. Willie sprays them all down with a hose, and once they're all wet, he electrocutes them, just like Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He even electrocutes the naked cowboy. I mean, a naked cowboy. A reference to the naked cowboy, known for singing in Times Square, and for suing the makers of M&M's for trying to capitalize on his image. So yeah, that guy is not the naked cowboy. I want to make that clear. With Willie's mass electrocution, the ferry loses power. Thankfully, Selena, Pete, Amber, and Cindy were not in the room where it happened. Rory, on the other hand, was in that room. And now she's living up to her namesake, Aurora, Sleeping Beauty. Except I don't remember Sleeping Beauty sleeping with her eyes open, foaming at the mouth, and a bunch of burns all over her face. Like I mentioned earlier, the Disney princesses are just there until they aren't. You kind of forget they're even in the movie until their bodies pop up here and there. Now, not everyone in the room is dead. There's a kid, Mateo, who happened to be laying on a rubber kitchen mat, and the guy, Moses, who was wearing specialty construction boots. Elsewhere, Jamie lures Officer Gare to a private area.
Can you feel the love tonight?
Disney reference, you know what? You don't need me to point it out every time. It's a beautiful scene. The mouse just has one idea how to make it even better. He gets their attention with a wolf whistle, then proceeds to cut off Officer Gare's... I don't have to say it, do I? Officer Gare's member falls to the floor. Ew. Willie kicks it away. Willie! I could have used that word. Then the mouse turns his attention to Jamie, who's now covered in Gare's Willie blood. Let's move on from this scene. Meanwhile, Selena, Pete, Amber, and Cindy make their way through the dark. Until, where's Cindy? We have to go back. I won't tell if you don't tell. Then they bump into Mateo and Moses. What should they do? Moses wonders if maybe they should swim to Governor's Island.
Go into hypothermic shock within minutes. We'd basically be frozen. Let it go.
That one is trying a little too hard. Honestly, this whole scene gets pretty hard to watch. Not just the frozen joke, but there's a thing where Pete is trying to name the killer mouse. He calls him Pizza Rat, and they're like, that's what you're calling him? And then later he tries another name. He's like, anyway, how do we stop Rizzo the Rat? In terms of the humor, the movie is at its best when it comes to sight gags or physical comedy. Less so with the witty banter. That's one place where horror comedy like Shaun of the Dead has this movie beat. Yeah, that's the one place where Shaun of the Dead outshines Screamboat. They join forces and head for the control room. What's going on with Tommy, by the way? He's working on the equipment and hears someone enter the room. Is that you, Pete? Except it isn't Pete. And when he asks for the screwdriver, Willie hands him a little souvenir from Gare. It falls on Tommy's face, followed by a TV pushed by the mouse, which crushes his skull. And then he does a little jig. In the control room, they find all the blood, and a message in blood. A scream is a wish your heart makes. A play on a dream is a wish your heart makes, a song from the 1950s Cinderella cartoon. With the captain dead, and the new Captain Tommy dead, Pete's worst nightmare. Or should I say, Captain Pete. They try to call for help, but yeah, all the equipment is down.
That little shit broke everything.
And what about Cindy? She wandered off alone and finds a Statue of Liberty head with a head in it. How did she not notice when she picked it up that there was a decapitated head inside? How much does a head weigh, actually? Between 5.1 to 11 pounds, apparently. She finds Ariana's mangled corpse, who we never saw die. She just kind of disappeared, but I can tell it's her thanks to the necklace. Then she sees the mouse. Cindy screams. Willie screams. It's the classic, you're so surprised that you surprise him, which then surprises you, and then you're both screaming.
Meow?
I don't know who's uglier, but I do know in 2115 what horror movie we're getting once Ugly Sonic enters the public domain. Willie grabs a harpoon, whistles Happy Birthday, officially declared public domain in 2015, and stabs Cindy through the back. She almost got away too because she got through these doors, but she forgot that harpoons stab through stuff, and doors are stuff. So is her spine. In the control room, old-timer Barry tells them a story about Steamboat Willie. The Staten Island ferry's been running since the 1800s, and most of them were run on steam until about the 70s. Back in the 1960s, Barry was a deckhand, and he heard tell of a monster lurking in the underbelly of the ferry. Tales were told of an imaginative, joyous, and kind-hearted captain by the name of Walter. Everyone called him Walt. On his ship, he stumbled upon a creature unlike any other. Willie. Unfolding the photo reveals Willie standing next to the captain, but also there's another fold there. Why wouldn't she unfold it all the way? You know, this movie was believable up until now, but not unfolding that obvious fold? Too far. Willie was some kind of experiment, abandoned in the cargo hold. They were trying to make him more animated, more appealing to kids. Walt set Willie free. Willie became his friend until tragedy struck. Walt was lost in a storm, and Willie disappeared into the underbelly of the ship.
Now, after 90 years, he's finally out in the public.
Out in the public domain, huh?
Wait, so this boat is the same boat that was in the story?
Parts of it, yes. Everything gets recycled over and over again.
You can see small hints of the movie reaching for more, like it could be a satire on the state of the film industry, recycling ideas and reusing them, just like this movie's doing. But to be honest, I don't think it has much more than the one trick. Isn't it crazy to see this mouse killing a bunch of people while acting silly? And yeah, it is crazy, for about an hour. And then it starts, you knew this was coming, it starts to run out of steam. I like that they animated the flashbacks and finally embraced the true cartoon aesthetic, but it feels like that was kind of the last trick left up this movie's sleeve. And then soon, it switches into kind of telling an actual story mode, where it's not exactly at its best. Meanwhile, Willie whistles some more public domain music, Turkey in the Straw. I never knew it was called that. It's also another reference to the original cartoon, where a goat swallows sheet music for the song, then eats a ukulele, and cranking his tail like a music box causes the song to play. He burns this guy's face with steam, I don't even know who that guy is to be honest, then stabs him in the face.
Roscoe, where'd you go?
Oh, I guess that was Roscoe. Poor guy. Officer Martinez spots the mouse and shoots at him, but Willie dodges the bullets, which looks pretty funny because he's obviously not moving fast enough to dodge bullets, but still does it effortlessly. Thanks to Martinez's own stray bullet, he ends up standing in a puddle of fuel, which the mouse promptly ignites, setting the poor officer ablaze. The survivors start making their way to the engine room to get the flares to signal the mainland. Along the way, Selena is impressed with Steve's leadership.
Aye, aye, Captain.
They run into Dominique. Remember her from the beginning of the movie? She can help them get the power back on and get the emergency transponder working if they just follow her. Yeah, right this way. Oh, look at her back. Mickey Mouse symbol. I do not like the looks of this. And yeah, she hits Moses' leg with a heavy object and reveals herself as a Mouseketeer, loyal to Willie. I came up with that, by the way, Mouseketeer. The movie didn't say that, though they probably couldn't say that. Wait, can I say that? Disney, please don't sue me. Anyway, she's been working for the mouse. She sabotaged the ship, and now they're on a rescue mission for someone lost at sea, and nothing will stand in Willie's way. While Pete and Moses head with Dominique to get the power back on, Selena and Amber head for the flares, but run into Willie, who doesn't want to kill them. He's in love. He offers Selena makeshift flowers he's made from a bunch of severed human ears. Amber stabs him in the eye with a screwdriver, and Selena smacks him away with a shovel. They open the flare box and nothing in there. That's because Dominique has them, and she goes on a little bit of a villain monologue.
No help's come, Pete. Our world is fucked, but Willie's world is the happiest place on earth.
She also quotes a line from Alice in Wonderland when she says, "We're all a little mad here."
Dom, aren't you a little old to be obsessed with a mischievous mouse?
A not-so-subtle jab at Disney adults, but it's all in good fun. Good thing Disney adults don't take anything too seriously, and I don't think I'm one of them, right? Does Marvel count? In that case, I might be in trouble. One thing I'm definitely not is a Screamboat adult. The movie has kind of lost me by this point. Dominique becoming a Steamboat Willie acolyte is just so nonsensical and not fleshed out. It doesn't land for me. I think it could be funny if it went more over the top. But right now, it's the equivalent of saying, wouldn't it be funny if one of the characters joined Willie's side? It would be funny, but it just comes down to her wearing a Mickey Mouse hat. So the execution is like some of the other jokes I mentioned. Nothing more than an allusion to the idea. They don't really execute the idea to its fullest. And outside the humor, at this point, the movie is just being a movie. Like the characters are sneaking around. There's tension as they try to escape, except there isn't tension because, guys, It's Screamboat. Willie returns and Dominique is like, "Don't be mad at me, I did everything you asked." But yanking a screwdriver out of your own eye has a way of pissing you off. So Willie starts eating her throat. Pete escapes while Moses stays behind with his hurt leg and gets his hands on one of the flare guns.
Say cheese, motherfucker.
The resulting explosion kills him and Dominique and floods the lower decks. But don't worry, Mateo is okay. Pete promises he's going to get him out of this. And I think the movie thinks we're actually invested in whether or not they save Mateo. And sadly, Pete has to sacrifice himself to save the kid. He holds the kid up to Amber and Selena while the place floods. And one wily Willie ends Pete's tenure as captain and his tenure of being alive. It's beautiful. So sad. Now Selena is sad and Amber has bad news. She catches a glimpse of Willie. He's still alive. He just keeps coming after them. What does he want? Mateo has an idea. He hands over that photo, which still has one more fold left. Unfolding that fold reveals Minnie Mouse. She must have been lost at sea. That's why Willie commandeered the ship. He's looking for her. I can only hope in a few years, once Donald Duck goes public domain, they'll reveal, wait, I didn't notice this other fold before. He was also friends with a mutant duck. Selena looks down and notices her bag has the same polka dot print as Willie's lost girlfriend's dress. She's done running. Instead, she's going to do the only natural thing and pretend to be Willie's girlfriend to lure him close and kill him. While she plays dress up, Amber protects Mateo by sword fighting the mouse until she arrives. Willie can't believe his eyes. His love returned. I don't know if we're supposed to believe he thinks this is actually his missing mouse girlfriend, or if he's just that taken with the human, Selena. There was the love at first sight thing earlier, which begs the question why she had to play dress up to begin with, and I'm probably overthinking this. The mouse gets close. She readies her cartoonishly large hammer, and how did she miss? He's standing right there. I get if you're whacking a fly, they're tiny, and they fly, but he's a big mouse. That's a big hammer, and he's standing still. Willie runs, knocks Mateo into the water. No, not Mateo! She runs for him and accidentally falls off the ship. I don't know if this was intentional, but I find it hilarious that she has to jump over these wires here, but instead of having her trip on those, they have her get over the wires, no problem, and then basically fall for no reason, and somehow end up dangling off the side of the ship. The way it's cut makes her look so useless. Look, she's running, foot gives out, and they don't shoot her attempting to steady herself or anything. It just cuts to her all of a sudden on the side of the ship. It reminds me of that scene in The Comebacks, a sports spoof movie. I caught one scene of it on TV years ago, and it's never left my brain. During the play, this guy gets tackled and goes flying through the air, like he spins around 50 times and hits the ground. But he gets back up. Then he gets hit by a bus, and he gets back up. Then the coach spits a sunflower seed onto the field. A seal tear, that's his name by the way, as in ACL tear. He steps on the seed and his ankle basically snaps in half immediately. That's Selena in this scene, except there isn't even a sunflower seed. There's just nothing. Willie walks over to knock her off the ship, but seeing her dangling there makes him think of her, the one he lost. He cannot go through that again. Instead, he helps Selena back onto the ship. Big mistake. He shyly offers her a flower. Amber distracts him, and Selena puts a pair of scissors in his skull. He gives a final cartoon wave and falls into the water. With him gone, they turn their attention to Mateo and see him floating in the water, and I think this is where they officially ran out of budget. Finally, they're rescued. They emphasize a few times in the movie that Mateo's dad is the borough president, as if they were worried people would question at the end of the movie, whoa, 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 how could rescue get here so fast? What, was the borough president's son on the boat or something? Yeah, put that in the script.
Thank you for looking after my son.
Yes, my son, me, the president of the borough. That's me. Can you believe it? In the end, Selena finds out what it really means to be a New Yorker and comes to love the city, or something. And Mateo found her sketchbook in the water.
Anything can happen in New York.
And what of Screamboat Willie? He wakes up on a trash barge where he's reunited with a certain mouse in a polka dot dress. Also, Pete's still alive, but he's stuck.
Pete, come in! I'm coming, bro.
And there you have it. Honestly, the movie turned out way better than I ever could have imagined, but is that a high bar? Month of Terror continues tomorrow with Black Phone 2.